Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is me, your girl, Labora Lee, and this is a Baltimore love story. Now, I wanted to explain a little bit about what a Baltimore love story is. It is a story of a young girl coming to a city and falling in love with that city. I know a lot of people probably think it's about me falling in love with somebody. It is not. I'm sorry, y'all. It's a down day, and I wanted to do this in my most normal um, representation. I'm not always dolled up and none of that stuff, but I'm decent. I'm decent. So the year was 1989. That also happens to be the year. A lot of things happened in that year. First things first. My mother and I moved to Baltimore City from North Carolina. I will say that moving to the city was definitely a culture shock. I really, really, um, I had been playing in an environment where it was like spread it out. It wasn't a city, and there weren't as many people. So it was different when I got here, and then I absolutely knew I didn't know anybody here. I had met my who would become my friend. And she jumped out there and she said, "All right, I'm looking for a better life for me and mine." So she relocated us from North Carolina to Baltimore. But the year was 1989. Pivotal things also in that year. That is also the year that I fell in love with hip hop, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the year was 1989. The mayor at the time was Mayor Kurt Schmoke, and the governor at the time was William D. Schaefer. Um, it was I will say it was a different kind of visual for me because the streets at that time in 89 were, busy. People were doing things. You know, this epidemic that we still fight to this day was not new. As a matter of fact, it was about to get at its height, I believe, if not already at its height. It was 89, so I'm quite sure it was already at its height. But it was a different look. It was a different product on the street. I'm not going to mention those said products, but it was a different product on the street by the time that we moved to Baltimore. And I will say this about my city at that time, everybody was getting it. The money, they was getting it. I hate to say this, but I will say that at the time, the policy for the streets was nobody paid attention to the other shit. So that's that. Hip hop at the time. Let's get into that. Because remember, I just said that is the year that I fell in love with hip hop. So at the time, in 89, I'm going to list maybe not all of them because it was like 47 albums that dropped that year. But I'm gonna run through a few of them, and I think I'm gonna go through the ones that were my favorites. So let's start with De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. That album dropped that year. Paul's Boutique, Beastie Boys dropped that year. It's a Big Daddy thing by Big Daddy Kane dropped that year. Oh man, Done by Forces of Nature, the Jungle Brothers dropped that year. Coogee Rap, Road to Riches dropped that year. Ghetto Music, The Blueprint of Hip Hop, Boogie Down Productions dropped that year. All Hail the Queen, the infamous Queen Latifah dropped that year. Unfinished Business, EPMD dropped that year. Oh man, Walking with a Panther dropped that year. LL Cool J. The DOC, No One Can Do It Better. Oh my gosh, hip hop was just so amazing back then. No More Mr. Nice Guy, Gangstar dropped that year. The Ghetto Boys, Grip It on the Other Level dropped that year. MC Light, Eyes on This dropped that year. Special Ed, Youngest in Charge dropped that year. Bismarcky, The Biz Never Sleeps dropped that year. Oh my gosh, yo, like the music. The music. Knowledge is King, Kumo D. As Nasty as They Want to Be, 2 Live Crew. Heavy D and the Boys, Big Time. Life is Too Short by Too Short. It was a lot of great music coming out. And at that time, you know what magazine was really, really popping? Right On. Right On magazine was the magazine. And I have a cover. I wanted to share it, but I didn't have time to upload it. But I do have a cover from that year. And I'll try to show you guys really quick. Maybe you'll be able to see it on my phone. But I do have a cover from that year of Right On magazine. And on that cover, oh my gosh, on that cover was, here we go. Let me tell you exactly who was on that cover. So on this cover, and I'll put it on my page or something like that so you guys can see it. And my listening audience, you guys won't be able to see it, but if you want to see it, you can go to any of our streaming sites, any of our social media sites to see it. On the cover, we had Salt and Pepper, a young Salt and Pepper, and I just mentioned some of these people. We had KRS-One, we had Big Daddy Kane, we had Eazy-E and NWA. We had, hold on, let me tell y'all everybody. MC Light and Special Ed. We had, oh my gosh, we had so many dope visuals for back in that day. Chubb Rock. So those who, let me see if I can give y'all a little insight of what this cover looked like. You know what I'm saying? But that was Word Up magazine. I said Right On. Right On was popping back then too, but Word Up magazine, that's where you got all your hip hop intel. So yeah. 89 was a blessed year as far as music was concerned. I think myself, I was just trying to figure out what this new life was going to look like. And I was a kid. I was 8 going on 9. So I was trying to figure out, how to adjust. And I adjusted. I learned how to adjust really, really quick because Baltimore is not one of those places where it's not for the weak. I'll say that. You must come in ready to adapt and adjust. So I think I adjusted well, all things considering. We moved in with my grandmother and my cousins. We moved. The first house we lived in was on Sturridge Street. And I can tell you the summers, you'll hear a reoccurring theme about Baltimore summers, but I'll just give you a quick synopsis. Frozen cups. Back then we were eating onion pickles and getting penny candy. $1 went a long way back in them times. We used to go to fun camp, which some people would call like summer camp, but we didn't stay there. We went home at the end of the day, but we went to fun camp. And my thing with fun camp was always the juices and the lunches. I went through and I hustled to get everybody's juice. You don't want your juice? You don't want your juice? Can I get your juice? I'll trade you this for your juice. And the little icy cone thingy majiggas, like you pop it open and then like you push it up and you get ices. They were hot. We played on St. Jerome's parking lot. I don't know how we did not die, but we played on the parking lot heavy, and we played heavy on the fire escapes. We did what typical, me and my girl cousins anyway, we did what typical little girls do, did cheers and jump rope and played games like red light, green light, and all of that good stuff. Fire hydrants were life. And like I said, that'll be a reoccurring thing for summers in Baltimore. You pop the fire hydrant open. Well, somebody did. I was too young to do it, but they popped the fire hydrant open and we went ham. That was one of the best. That's one of the best memories I can remember. Just, they opened the fire hydrant. Everybody put on their little clothes to get wet, and we run to wherever the fire hydrant was popped at. Sometimes it would be on Cross Street. Well, that was later on. We'll get to that. But wherever they popped the fire hydrant, we was trying to get in there and get wet. But we had a lot of fun times. And then I finally got introduced to my elementary school, my first school here in Baltimore, but my second elementary school, which was George Washington Elementary. And that was something else too, because you got to remember, I'm the new girl coming in. I'm coming from North Carolina. My mom is not all the way acclimated to this this city, nor is she acclimated to city life. So there was a lot of things that, I had to play catch up on. For example, fashion. There's many days that I got picked on because my fashion wasn't up to par. But the beautiful thing is that I had family members that I lived with and that were around me that could kind of, sway me in the right direction, give me some little fashion pointers for living up north. What else? I was an awkward little girl. I wasn't awkward. Now that I'm older, I think that made me unique, and that would have been what made me stand out from a lot of people. I used to have a birthmark right here under my eye. It was like the size of a dime. But I got picked on a lot. I got called polka dot. Oh my God. I got picked on a lot about it, but it made me stronger. It made me stronger for the environment that I was going to spend the rest of my life in, which I have. I've lived in the city for the majority of my life. I had long hair, but at that time when I first got here, I wasn't really getting it done. It was like pony. Well, my mother would do it, but it wasn't like going to the hair salon or getting my hair, like special occasions. Otherwise, it's ponytails and braids, which wasn't really that bad. But at the same time, being a little girl with really long hair, sometimes you become a target. And I think for my daughter, she goes through that a little bit sometimes too, because her really having really long hair, sometimes that is the focal point for a lot of people, which should not be a contingency, but it is. So 89 was something else. 89 was a hell of a year, but I learned so much in 89. I learned about, in that year is also the year I first started learning about the Harlem Renaissance, because where I went to school at in North Carolina, they didn't teach you these kind of things. And Black history was like, it was national. It was national by that point, but they really didn't go hard in the Black history department in the school that I went to in North Carolina. It was more so, the regular typical holidays, Easter and all that, and you celebrated and stuff like that. But they didn't go hard for Black history. But when I got to Baltimore City, I learned a lot more about me being an African-American woman, me being a Black woman. And in Baltimore City, I learned a lot about my legacy. But that is the year, 89, is the year that I first started learning about the Harlem Renaissance, because the school that I went to, they were very, I ain't going to say Afrocentric, but they taught African-Americans, things and studies when they could squeeze it into the curriculum. But I learned a lot, and that year is the year I fell in love with the Harlem Renaissance and maybe the blues. I don't know. We're going to get to when I fell in love with Billie Holiday, but that's later. I want to say that's middle school. But yeah, I learned a lot in the city. The city was great. I'm going to play a video real quick. And I'm going to play this video because this is also a part of my Baltimore history. I was there when this video was shot. And it speaks on one of the main pivotal streets in the city. And we'll get to that. Because when I do these shorts, because they're not going to be full podcasts. When I do these shorts, sometimes I will throw in a little bit of history because I'm a history lover. And this street right here is widely known, especially to the African-American community. You had joints like the Royal. It was popping back in the day, and it's called Pennsylvania Avenue, and the song is by Dirt Platoon, so I'm going to play it real quick.
Hold him back. You did just leave him alone.
We're in the 1500 block, and this was the premier block of Baltimore. This is Pennsylvania Avenue.
Jack, I grew up around 21217. Heavy drug traffic. Every soul conceal their own habits. The wolves here fiending do you something. Got the birds jumping. Beautiful project babies. Much with rabies. The night's live and crazy. The hood grades me. Never had a pops. I wore dirty socks. My mom's whooped ass on spot. Beef Popeyes, pork and beans and fried chicken thighs. Frozen cups that taste good as fuck. Blowing L's while you get your thing sucked. Your neighbors ain't shit. Play your music loud as you want a bricks. Your house broken in, can't have good shit in the hood. These gang niggas up to no good. I put on for my whole city, rep all avenues. This dedicated to the Pennsylvania Avenue. I had a baby by a bitch off Moja, and you can call me a fucking Dolphin Street soldier. Rap almighty myself.
Raw Theater was 2 blocks down. Everybody performed in Raw
It's
Theater.
24 streets off the Ave, and they all low, and it starts from Franklin and ends on Fulton. Pennsylvania Avenue, home of the dirt platoon. Hey yo world, stay tuned. It's 24 streets off the Ave, and they all low, and it starts from Franklin and ends on Fulton. Pennsylvania Avenue, home of the dirt platoon. Hey yo world,
was born and raised on Pennsylvania Avenue, off a little streetcar Dolphin in Baltimore, the East Coast Compton, the place where Melvin made millions, and Mellow mastered his jump shot. My block was a one-stop drug shop. Cops knocking on doors with mugshots, asked questions about Pookie Round Pressman. Went up to hustling motherfuckers on pressing. My soldiers on Moja, in a jet with no weapon. My color home veteran. You can lose your soul on gold in 1 second. Shit get a lot raw when you cross McMecken. When I was an adolescent, say around 7. I thought the hood I lived in was heaven. Found out it was hell. With crackheads dwell and killers fly they trade. And little shorties join up with gangs as they afraid.
It's 24 streets off the Ave, and they all low, and it starts from Franklin and ends on Fulton. Pennsylvania Avenue, home of the dirt platoon. Hey yo world, stay tuned. It's 24 streets off the Ave, and they all low, and it starts from Franklin and ends on Fulton. Pennsylvania Avenue, home of the dirt platoon. Hey yo world, stay tuned.
Some days we would play crap on the sidewalk, and it would be 300,000-400,000 in cash. Millions of dollars would change hands. At midnight, there would be another game upstairs over top of another pool room called the Big House. You could win $2 million in there if it was your night. It was a fascinating time. It was a time when you had to be the message that you sent. You couldn't tell somebody you can't take my money. You had to prove it.
So I'm back. All right. So the other thing about A Baltimore Love Story, I'm going to try my best to only play artists from Baltimore when I do these shorts. It'll only be like one video because it's not a full podcast. It's just a short of me giving you a story of times in my life and give you a visual. I wanted my audience to get to know who I am. So I'm going to give y'all bits and pieces of that in A Baltimore Love Story. What I will say is, I wanted to give you what the sneaker game looked like back in them times. Oh my gosh. Reeboks for sure. Reebok Classics for sure. Were on the chart off the Richter scale. So we had, let's see, Jordans were popping. Niggas was wearing Gucci, believe it or not. But let's see, what was the most popular shoes in 89? Let's get to, a lot of people was rocking Gucci. Some people were rocking stuff from Dapper Dan because they had heard about the Connect. So definitely Jordans were hot on the Richter scale. Reeboks, the pumps with the little basketball on the, they was jumping. Nike always was popping. New Balance always was popping. Hold on, because I need a. Of course, you had your Chuck Taylors, you had your Adidas. Showheads was always a classic, but this is one for a throwback. British Knights. If anybody remembers those sneakers, please hit me up. British Knights. It was a lot of sneakers jumping off back then, but everybody had their own little thing going on. But back then, you had to be fresh. You was wearing tennis skirts and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was what it was. I enjoyed every bit of my moving experience, although it was rough. I learned how to fight that year. I definitely learned how to fight that year because I had to fight a lot of kids, believe it or not. I learned how to fight coming to Baltimore, and I think that's why I still remain with the fighting spirit. But all in all, I gained a lot of culture. moving to Baltimore. So I don't have any complaints. And my child was born here. So that was 1989. We're going to keep it moving. I think I want you guys to start tossing me, like, if you see this, if you watch it, I want you to toss a year so it's not so in sequence, so I could just throw stories back and forth at y'all about what happened. If you like this segment of the show, I would like to thank anybody who tunes in advance, because these particular shows are pre-recorded. For those who are listening, you did not get to see that video by Derpatune, but a lot of the visual explains everything that I just explained about what I saw when I moved to Baltimore in 1989 and what I've seen throughout the years, whatever you'll hear from throughout the years. So if you want the visual, please, please, please follow us on IG, at Miss_Lurlucidity, or you can go to our Facebook page, which is Ambitiously the Podcast, or you can go to our YouTube page, which is Ambitiously the Podcast. You can just type that in, but it'll come up as Ambitiously the Podcast, the Black Experience. Because I'm all about my culture. Check out our website, ambitiouslyentertainment.com. And again, that is ambitiouslyentertainment.com. Get all of the latest and all the good stuff. You know what I mean? You can go listen to the radio station. You can go check out the magazine. You can go listen to the podcast, because you can listen to it there as well. Go to the boutique, find you some flyers, merch to purchase, and it's all there and available for you. Remember, we are on all streaming sites, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and the list goes on and continues. So check us out, and please. I haven't decided on. I think I'm gonna go with my original idea, which is you don't know what day a Baltimore love story is gonna come. It could come on a Tuesday. It could come on a Thursday. It's gonna be one of those days, though. It'll alternate. So, by chance, if you see me promoting it, please check it out. Interesting little tidbits in there about myself. It's one year I really don't want to get to, but I guess I will. I'm just trying to skip over a few parts because some things should be personal. If you want to be on this show, hit us up. Ambitiously the Podcast, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Again, that is Ambitiously the Podcast, all lowercase, at gmail.com. We definitely are always open to new guests. We are definitely open to play your music. If you have music, we are definitely here to help spread the love and promote businesses, especially Black businesses, but all businesses. So whenever you get a chance, hit us up. We'll have you on. We don't do that hating stuff over here. And my last final message is, if you're from Baltimore, then you know. If you're not from Baltimore, then you don't know, but I'm going to learn you. And with that being said, you guys have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Stay out of the way. Mind your business. And with that being said, bye.